Tonight, I sit in this room at this table with a torn-up lease beside my tea, remembering how my nephew tried to trap me as his guarantor, and how I answered. The ink on their lease is still fresh on this table. I'm Hattie. I keep my name and my credit clean. Half an hour ago, my nephew raised his glass right here and tried to give my signature away like it was a free dessert. He smiled at his friends and his girlfriend's parents and said I had kindly agreed to guarantee their new city flat. He did not know that before he walked into this room tonight, I had already spoken to the landlord and the power company. He did not know that this paper on the table is already dead. 3 weeks ago, I woke up in this chair to the sound of voices outside my door. Mark thought I was asleep. His tone was low and excited. She hates scenes, he told someone on the phone. If we do it at the celebration, she won't say no in front of everyone. I heard a young woman's laugh, then words I will not forget. Of course she'll sign. She's old and soft. She won't want to look stingy. I kept my eyes closed and listened. They talked about the lease, the guarantor box, and using her good score. My score. My name. When the door finally closed and this room went quiet, I opened my eyes and stared at this table. I knew something had shifted. The next morning, Mark came into this room with that same too sweet smile. "Aunt Hattie," he said, setting coffee on this table like a waiter. "We have good news. Lila and I found the perfect flat, close to the center. Big windows. It's just that the agency wants a guarantor, someone solid." He glanced at my framed certificates on the wall. "You've always been so responsible." I stirred my drink and said nothing. "We'll talk about it later," he went on. "Anyway, we want to celebrate with a family dinner here. Just a few people. You'll love hearing our plans." His eyes flicked to my mail pile. He was already counting my savings in his head. That afternoon, his mother, my younger sister, came by this room with a cake box and a worried face that did not reach her eyes. She sat in this chair, smoothed her skirt, and began her song. "Hattie, dear, the kids have such a chance," she said. "You know how hard it is to get good housing in this city. The landlord just needs a trusted older person on paper. It costs you nothing, really. You'll never feel it." She tapped this table with one finger. "You don't even use credit. What's the harm in letting them lean on your good name?" I looked at her hand and said quietly, "My good name is not spare furniture. It is not for leaning." She laughed, a little too high. "You always were dramatic," she said. That night, after she left, I did what I always do when my stomach is tight. I opened my notebook at this table. I'm an old clerk. I trust lists more than feelings. I checked my bank alerts on my phone. There, in small grey letters, was something new. Credit check requested by Cityline Rentals. I had not asked anyone to check my credit. I called the number on the alert. A tired woman at the other end confirmed it. "It's linked to an application for 2B at Riverside Court," she said. "Applicant, Mark Anders. Guarantor, Harriet Anders." I stared at the grain of this table. "I did not apply to guarantee anything," I answered. "I did not give permission to use my name." The woman went quiet. "Then we have a problem," she said. In this chair, with the phone pressed to my ear, I listened as she opened the file. "We have your details here. she said slowly. Full name, date of birth, address, last job, all correct. It says you will come in and sign at a family dinner this week. She hates scenes, so she'll just do it, the note read. The words were nearly the same as the late-night whisper I had heard through the door. My hand shook once, then steadied. Please mark this loud and clear, I said. Guarantor has not agreed. Guarantor will not sign. Guarantor wants her data locked. The woman's voice firmed. Understood. I'll freeze this application and note that we must speak to you directly if anyone tries to push it through. When we hung up, I laid my notebook flat on this table and wrote a title at the top of a clean page. Money Help Rules. My voice is quiet, but ink is louder. I wrote 3 lines, each on its own row. First, I do not co-sign loans or leases for anyone. Second, no bills, accounts, or debts may be opened in my name for someone else's use. Third, if my name is used without consent, I will treat it as fraud, not a misunderstanding. The words were simple enough that even the most stubborn nephew could not pretend to be confused. I read them aloud in this room, just to hear them once in the air. I thought that might be the end of it. It was not. 2 days later, a letter arrived and landed on this table with a soft thud. It was from an energy company I did not use. Welcome to your new home, it said. Your power account will start next month. The address was not mine. It was the flat Mark wanted. I called them from this chair. There has been a mistake, I said. I did not open this account. The man on the line sounded bored until he pulled up the file. It lists you as the responsible adult, he said. Maybe a family member is helping you move? I felt my jaw tighten. No, I replied. A family member is helping himself. Please cancel this and mark that no service may be placed in my name without my direct call. After that call, I knew this was no small confusion. This was a pattern. They had used my data to try to open a lease and a light bill. Next would be internet, furniture credit, who knows what else. All under my name, with them enjoying the view. I sat in this chair until my heartbeat slowed. Then I called my bank's fraud line. I asked for a note on my file that said, in writing, client does not act as guarantor for others. The young man on the phone sounded surprised, then impressed. That's very smart, he said. I wish my grandmother would do that. When we finished, I copied the key sentence into my notebook on this table. I underlined it twice. My name would not be the softest point in any plan. With the outside pieces secured, I turned back to this room. I wrote my 3 rules again, this time in big letters on a clean sheet of white paper. The pen scratched loud in the quiet. At the bottom, I added one more line. These rules apply even at nice dinners with candles and guests. I smiled a little as I wrote it. Then I placed the page flat in the middle of this table and put a glass sugar bowl on top so it would not curl. That paper sat there all afternoon, like a small warning sign. Anyone who walked into this room could see it if they bothered to look. Tonight was the night they chose for their little show. Mark arrived first, carrying flowers he could not afford without my accounts. Lila followed, all perfume and plans, then her parents, dressed like they were meeting royalty. My sister came last, her eyes bright. They all packed into this room, sat around this table, lifted their glasses. To family, Mark said, giving me a long look. He waited until everyone had eaten and relaxed. Then he stood, tapping his spoon against his glass. "We have an announcement," he said. My fingers rested on my notebook. My rules lay under the sugar bowl between us, white and calm. "We've been approved for a beautiful flat by the river," Mark told the table. "And none of it would be possible without my amazing aunt." He gestured toward me with a wide, fake proud smile. "She has agreed to be our guarantor. The agency just needs her signature on the lease and the power form. They even sent the papers here." Lila held up a folder like a prize. Her parents clapped. My sister dabbed at her eyes. "She's always been so generous." She sniffed. The plan was clear. Put a pen in my hand in front of witnesses and hope my fear of making a scene would do the rest. I let the clapping die down. Then I pushed my chair back, slowly. "Thank you, Mark," I said, my voice as mild as I could keep it. "It's kind of you to praise me, but we need to fix one big lie before anyone opens that folder." The room went very still. Lila's smile slipped. My sister frowned. "What lie?" she asked. I did not answer her. Instead, I lifted the sugar bowl and turned the white page so everyone could see the thick black letters. "These," I said, tapping the paper, "are my money rules. I wrote them here in this room when I found out how you have been using my name." I read the first line out loud, slow and clear. "I do not co-sign loans or leases for anyone." I let my eyes travel around this table. "That includes you, Mark," I said. "And you, Lila? And any future child, cousin, or charming stranger?" Mark laughed weakly. "We're just asking for a little help," he said. "The landlord just needs your name. You'll never have to pay." I shook my head. "That is not how guarantees work," I replied. "If you could pay without me, you would not need my name." I pointed to the second line. "No bills, accounts, or debts may be opened in my name for someone else's use." "Yet," I added, "someone has already tried." I slid the energy letter onto this table. "This company thinks I am moving into your flat," I said. "It welcomed me to a home I have never seen. It says I opened an account in my name, but I did not." Lila's father frowned. "Is that true?" he asked his daughter. She stared at the letter and said nothing. My sister spoke up instead. "It was just a mix-up," she said. "They meant well." I raised my eyebrows. "A mix-up that used my date of birth, my address, and my old job title?" I asked. "A mix-up that wrote notes to the landlord saying, 'She hates scenes. She will sign at the celebration.'" The color drained from Mark's face. He looked at Lila. "They told you that?" he whispered. I set down one more page, the short summary from the landlord. "This is from Cityline Rentals," I said. "They froze your application because I told them the truth. They know now that I never agreed to be your guarantor." I let my finger rest on the last paragraph. At the bottom it says, "Due to misrepresentation of guarantor consent, we have marked this application as attempted fraud. No further applications from these tenants will be accepted within our group for the next years." I looked up. "You did not just lose one flat," I told them. "You lost every decent flat this company manages. All those shiny buildings you showed me on your phone. They are closed to you now. That is what you bought with my stolen name." I tapped the third line on my rule sheet. "If my name is used without consent, I will treat it as fraud, not a misunderstanding." "Fraud is a very strong word," my sister said sharply. "Family doesn't talk like that." I met her eyes. Family doesn't trick a woman into a fake agreement and let her carry their risk, I answered. Cityline didn't use that word because I am mean. They used it because you tried to get them to trust a guarantor who never agreed. They protect their buildings. I protect my name. Then I gave them their choices. You can accept this and learn, I said. Or you can keep pushing and find out what a police report looks like next to a rental blacklist. Mark tried one last angle. Aunt Hattie, he said, turning toward me. We helped you when you had your hip surgery. We brought groceries. We drove you to appointments. Don't you remember? I nodded. Yes, I said. And I thanked you then. I also left you money on this table for petrol and food, which you took. Help is help. Payment is payment. None of that was a down payment on my name. The room was very quiet. Lila pushed back her chair. This is humiliating, she muttered. Everyone else's parents help. We just asked for one little thing. I folded my rules page and slipped it into my notebook. You did not ask, I said. You assumed. Those are different verbs. In the end, they gathered their coats and left this room in a tight, embarrassed line. Lila's parents paused at the door. We're sorry for the trouble, her mother said. We did not know about the letters. After they were gone, the silence in this room felt deep and clean. I sat in this chair, poured myself a fresh cup of tea, and breathed. 2 days later, an email arrived. I read it right here at this table. Cityline Rentals confirmed that my name had been removed from all files and that the application was recorded as attempted guarantor fraud. No further tenancies will be offered to these applicants within our portfolio, it said. The power company followed with a short note. Account cancelled at your request. My shoulders finally dropped. I had not only kept my name clean, I had made sure their trick could not be tried again in the same place. A week later, Mark came back alone to this room. He did not sit. He stared at this table, at my closed notebook, at my empty sugar bowl. We lost the flat, he said. And now every agency that uses Cityline's system turns us away. They say our file is marked. If we don't find something soon, we'll end up in a tiny place far from town, if we get anything at all. I nodded. Then you are living inside the shadow you made, I replied. You tried to climb on my record. Now you must stand on your own. He swallowed. You could still fix it, he tried. Just one call, one letter. I shook my head. You lost that shield when you tried to steal it, I said. My rules are not punishments, they are fences. They keep my life safe. He left without slamming the door. Now, in this room, at this table, I tell you what I learned. Never give your name where your eyes and hands do not reach. I'm Hattie, and my credit and its power is mine.